Viserys came into power with a full roster of Kingsguard already developed by his predecessor, like most kings. It was only really Robert Baratheon and the Old King that had to pretty much hard reset. Viserys' predecessor, the Old King Jaehaerys, actually formed what is considered the greatest Kingsguard ever, and I made a whole video about them a while back. But over the years, the legendary defenders slowly died off, while their aging king lived on, and each had to be replaced. But even the ones that served him in his last moments of his life were very capable. Everything Jaehaerys did is now looked back on as the gold standard. The Old King made sure to give Viserys much more than a proper Kingsguard. It gave him a peaceful realm to take over. At the time of his succession to the throne, the Seven Kingdoms were in their prime. Dragons everywhere, no wars, nobles and small folk alike fully accepting and loving the Targaryens. Which means his 7 sworn defenders were never really tested. These were men of tourneys, since there weren't many battlefields to distinguish themselves. But one of these 7 fighters was a man who participated in the greatest joust in the story's history. Ryam Redwyne is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard Viserys inherited from his grandfather. So Ryam is actually the only one we know with 100% certainty that served the Old King. We kinda just assume that the rest of the 6 I'm about to name did too. George R. R. Martin doesn't go into crazy detail with specific dates of which Kingsguard joined when. That's only reserved for the big shots that have some story relevance, like Ryam. In 60 AC, a previous Lord Commander suggested swearing Ryam Redwyne in after seeing him dominate powerful fighters in the tilts. Ryam was the best fighter in this world, while in his prime. But he was an old man by the time of Viserys' coronation. He was such a good commander that the Old King thought he would make a good hand of the king. He was very wrong. Surprise, surprise, the best fighter turned out to be the worst diplomat. It only took a few months for the Old King to fire him and tell him to stick to sword fighting. The only real feat we have for Ryam is his participation in the greatest joust of all time during a tourney, against one of his own brothers of the Kingsguard. After 30 draws, where they broke 30 of each other's lances without falling, they were announced co-champions. 2 years into Viserys' reign, the older Ryam died, to what I assume was just old age or health complications. Something I'm sure someone of his stature wasn't pleased about. You know how they like to go on about dying with a sword in hand. House Redwyne, a very powerful family in the Reach, up there with the Hightowers and Tyrells. Their thing is making wine and building ships. The rich guys usually aren't into slavery like contracts that a Kingsguard vows. But Ryam's a 3rd son. He wasn't going to be given any land or titles anyways. During those 2 years as Viserys' Lord Commander, he was in charge of Harrold Westerling, the twin brothers Eric Cargyll and Art Cargyll, Willis Fell, Rickard Thorne, Steffan Darklyn, and Lorne Marmbrand. If you're counting, that makes 8 total white swords, which does mean during Viserys' reign, one of these came into the picture a little later on. We just don't know who. Harrold Westerling replaced Ryam as Lord Commander, and Criston Cole was selected to fill the vacant position. Absolutely nothing is written about Lord Commander Harrold Westerling. Judging by his last name, we know he hails from a house in the Westerlands under the very rich and powerful Lannisters. The Westerlings aren't a weak house by any means though. Criston got the attention of the royals after defeating Daemon Targaryen, who was a very skilled fighter in the tilts and the melee. He asked for Rhaenyra's favor beforehand, so King Viserys named him as her sworn shield. He was her personal bodyguard for a year before being promoted to the Kingsguard. We've heard his backstory a few times over in the early episodes of House of the Dragon, where he describes his past as a steward to the Lord of House Dondarrion in the Stormlands. House Cole is just a less prominent vassal of theirs. The prequel adds that he spent time fighting the Dornish, who are not part of the Seven Kingdoms yet in this time period. The Martells and Dorne frequently invade and send back invaders from the Stormlands and even the Reach, a very heated region on the map. After 7 years, Criston was promoted to Lord Commander after Harrold's death due to unclarified reasons. A big change from the books is Harrold lives on for a while in House of the Dragon. I have no idea where his story is heading, leading up to the Civil War between the Blacks and Greens. Last we left off in episode 9, he's taken off his white cloak, proclaiming he will not take part in this mess when there's no clear king. But I think he has a Rhaenyra bias. He's so insignificant in the lore that the only sentence he's mentioned in was when Criston Cole replaced him as the new Lord Commander for Viserys. That's literally it. We don't know which of these guys replaced Harrold in the books after his death. It's either Willis, Rickard, Steffan, or Laurent, or one of the twins. The twins are written as equals in every way, so I like to think that they somehow joined at the exact same time, or very close in time, long ago. The Darklyns are pretty much born to serve the Kingsguard. Steffan's just one of many from this family to be sworn in. House Darklyn used to call themselves kings in the same region that the Targaryens now rule from, before they named it the Crown Lands. And now they're just bodyguards. And Steffan's not a very good one. I mean, I shouldn't point him out, but none of these 7 were there to prevent or stop the fight that turned real ugly with these brats, where Prince Aemond lost an eye. Willis fell, Rickard Thorne, and Lord Marbrand fly under the radar until the Dance of the Dragons Civil War. All of them also hail from smaller to medium-sized houses, so no commoners amongst Viserys' crew. This Kingsguard has to really step up if they're supposed to be the most renowned knights of the 7 kingdoms. With Harrold's character being given a bigger role in House of the Dragon compared to the books, maybe the same can be done for the others. After King Viserys succumbs to his leprosy-like illness, they'll have to decide which heir they'll fight to see sit on the Iron Throne. We'll know by the season finale. That little promo did show us Lord Marbrand and Steffan Darklyn part of Rhaenyra's Black Council. I'll see you guys after that episode 10 airs. The peaceful eras of the Old King and Viserys are finally over. It's time for them to be tested. The Kingsguard actually have to do something now. Thanks for watching.